During the height of the Cold War, espionage was a shadowy realm dominated by paranoia and cunning. Governments on both sides spent billions on covert operations, all while employing some truly bizarre tools to aid their spies. Though many of these gadgets remain classified, some have trickled into public awareness, revealing an unexpected side to international espionage. There's a certain charm in seeing how both the Soviet KGB and the American CIA attempted to solve problems with absurd, almost cartoonish inventions. But beneath these seemingly silly devices lay a deadly serious purpose: to outsmart and outmaneuver an enemy lurking behind every border. One of the most infamous gadgets was the lipstick pistol designed by the KGB. It looked like any ordinary tube of makeup, small enough to fit in a purse or pocket. In reality, it held a single .177 caliber bullet that could be fired at close range. With a flick of the wrist, lethal force was suddenly in the palm of a disguised assassin. Though it sounds like something from a spy parody, the lipstick pistol was all too real, demonstrating the lengths to which agencies were willing to go. Not to be outdone, the CIA developed its own bizarre accessories. Among them was the rectal toolkit, a small capsule that an operative could conceal internally during missions behind enemy lines.
Oh my.
It contained lockpicks, a small saw, and tiny capsules of lethal substances in case a spy was captured. Uncomfortable as it sounds, it was prized for its ability to go undetected during searches, granting an agent a last-ditch chance at escape or an end on their own terms. Despite its embarrassing nature, it underscored the grim reality of Cold War espionage, where capture often meant torture or execution. A more whimsical creation was the dead drop rat. The CIA would hollow out the carcass of a rat, then fill it with secure messages or film. Field operatives would leave the rodent in a prearranged spot for another spy to retrieve. The logic was that few people would suspect a dead rat to be anything but vermin, so it served as a convenient hiding place. Of course, the potential for horrifying mishaps was high, and one can only imagine the reaction of any bystander who stumbled upon these stuffed rodents. Yet to intelligence agencies, every risk was worth taking if it meant exchanging information safely. On the Soviet side, there were occasional attempts at using animal spies. Rumors circulated of cats fitted with listening devices, though the projects often ended in disaster. In one case, CIA scientists experimented with Acoustic Kitty, implanting a microphone and transmitter inside a live cat. The idea was that the feline would wander near high-value targets and capture private conversations. However, training a cat to obey field commands proved nearly impossible. According to some sources, the project ended when the cat was run over by a taxi during its first test. Whether fact or myth, it remains a testament to how far these agencies would stretch the boundaries of common sense. But it wasn't just animals that became unsuspecting spies. Both the KGB and CIA were keen on using disguise cameras in everyday objects. Tiny lenses were hidden in pens, ties, and even umbrellas. Agents wandered city streets, snapping photos without raising suspicion, all the while risking their lives if caught. Some cameras were so small that the resulting pictures were barely more than blurry silhouettes, yet intelligence analysts would pore over them, searching for any clue about troop movements, missile placements, or new technologies in development. In the realm of pure slapstick, there was the idea of hollow coins. Operatives could open them to store microfilm or coded messages. While the concept wasn't entirely new, secret compartments had been used for centuries. The idea of disguising them as mundane currency was cunning. That is, until one unfortunate operative in Moscow accidentally used a hollow coin to buy something from a street vendor. The vendor discovered the trick coin and handed it over to the authorities, triggering a small crisis within the local intelligence community. Little accidents like this helped reinforce the notion that no spy tool was foolproof. Perhaps the most surreal invention was the CIA's Dragonfly drone, officially known as the Insectothopter. Created in the 1970s, it was essentially a tiny robotic dragonfly designed to carry a listening device. It could fly short distances, powered by a miniature engine that was incredibly ahead of its time. Unfortunately, gentle breezes and wind gusts made controlling the device nearly impossible. Spies soon realized that nature itself was more unpredictable than any enemy counterintelligence, and the Insectothopter project was quietly shelved. Even so, the notion that robotic insects were once considered a viable surveillance tool shows just how imaginative and desperate these agencies could be. Meanwhile, the Soviets were rumored to have developed a special vodka flask that doubled as a fragmentation grenade. The idea was to disguise an explosive in one of the most common items in Russian culture, a move that might have been more comedic if it weren't so lethal. Whether that particular gadget saw real use remains unclear, but stories of it circulated among intelligence circles. The message was clear: never underestimate your enemy's creativity, even in something as deceptively simple as a bottle of vodka. No discussion of Cold War spy gadgets would be complete without mentioning the shoe transmitters. Both American and Soviet agencies were known to install small microphones in the heels of a target's footwear, sometimes without them even noticing. The unfortunate individual would walk around, unknowingly broadcasting every conversation. In a few cases, the transmitters malfunctioned, producing odd static noise that led the wearer to realize they were bugged. The moment they discovered a strange bulge or felt wires within their shoes, the jig was up. Still, the technique remained popular, as it required minimal effort and could be exceptionally effective if no one spotted the tampering. While these gadgets sound outlandish, they reflect the intense rivalry that defined the Cold War. Both sides feared a devastating nuclear confrontation, and intelligence gathering was a way to maintain an edge. Even the most absurd inventions were taken seriously if they promised a slight advantage. Some ended in hilarious blunders, while others served their purpose for years without detection. The real question is how many equally peculiar devices remain hidden, locked away in top-secret vaults, never to see the light of day. Today, many of these contraptions look like props from a cheesy spy movie rather than genuine tools of global espionage. Yet for those who lived through that era, the stakes were unimaginably high. Every slip of information, every coded message, and every clandestine device represented a piece of a puzzle that could mean victory or defeat. The Cold War's legacy lives on in modern spy technology, which is far more sophisticated, but perhaps less charming. Where once there was a lipstick pistol or a rat carcass drop, there are now satellites and digital surveillance networks, infinitely more powerful, but lacking the almost comical creativity of their predecessors. The silly secret spy gadgets of the Cold War remind us that high-stakes politics often rely on low-tech cunning. Behind every misguided invention lies a kernel of fear, a realization that the enemy might be just a step ahead. Sometimes, that fear inspired genuine innovation. Other times, it led to bizarre contraptions better suited for a slapstick comedy than a battlefield of ideologies. But if there's one universal truth about spies, it's that they will use any tool at their disposal. Even if that tool is hidden in plain sight, masquerading as a harmless everyday object, it can be an instrument of intrigue that shapes the fate of nations, even when it makes us smile at its sheer absurdity.